Who would have thought that over 30 years later after the original we would have Terminator Genisys? That's Genisys with a Y. The 5th feature film and the first following the failed Fox series. And in all that time, there have been 7 actors who have played John Connor. I bring that up because never mind showing us a nuclear holocaust or a war against the machines. If you want to see the post-apocalypse, just look at these faces. These men have gone through some tough times. Now some of you are probably saying, what about Edward Furlong? He was a cute kid. To that, I say, apocalypse! Christian Bale's a pretty good looking dude. Yeah, but his Terminator was directed by fast food burger turned director Mick G. And to that I say, apocalypse, apocalypse, apocalypse. In actuality, I didn't mind Berger's work in Terminator Salvation. I thought it was half decent. Trust me, it could have been a lot worse because Brett Ratner was actually offered to direct Terminator Genisys. Ugh, talk about your darkest timelines. And with that seamless segue, we get to one of the most interesting trends in recent cinema that a lot of sci-fi franchises are using, and that's time travel paradoxes to rewrite the pre-established history of an already established franchise. Star Trek did it to say, forget those other movies, we are our own franchise. X-Men Days of Future Past did it to say, forget The Last Stand. And screw you, Brett Ratner. Kind of a Deus Ex Time machina, if you will. In Terminator Genisys, Genisys with a Y, they do the same thing. It's not completely a sequel. In fact, it's not really a sequel at all. It's more like a reboot, and with time travel, they've completely reset the history of the Terminator franchise. The issue is, they never really say how it's reset. Oh, sure, Kyle Reese goes back to 1984, like we've seen him do in the original Terminator, but this time, when he goes to meet Sarah Connor, the Terminator, or Pops as he's known, is already with her. And has been with her since she was a kid, making a whole new timeline. But then Reese asks, how is this possible? Who sent him back? And they literally answer, we don't know. His memory banks have been erased. Convenient answer. Lazy writing. Now this film could have easily burned all that history into ash, but instead they made some very specific choices, and I'm glad they did, because there are some very clever nods to the successful Terminator films, while at the same time ignoring the less successful components. Again, that strategy is called a Ratner. One of my favorite aspects is that Byung-Hun Lee brings back one of my favorite killer robots in the T-1000. And while the filmmakers tried some new and fun things with this model of Terminator, it does bring up some interesting questions. When did Skynet send a T-1000 to 1984? And if they could do that, why not send the most advanced Terminator? Also, when does Skynet get a chance to evolve? When they send the original T-800 back to 1984, it's a last-ditch effort because John Connor and his Resistance have already won the war in the future. So when Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor defeat the original T-800 in 1984, Skynet doesn't get a second or third chance. So are you telling me that the T-800, the T-1000, and the T-X were sent at the same moment strategically back into 3 different time periods? Ugh, I'm getting a headache. Don't overthink about it, because if you do think about it, this new timeline sadly means that Terminator 2 never happened. The good thing is Terminator 3 never happened, but Genisys only gives you a glimpse of one of those films, and thankfully, it's the T-1000. With the new and exciting things that they bring to this character, throwing it back to an amazing old school movie, the T-1000 is Genisys' for the win. Of course, it's not a perfect film, and unfortunately, the throwbacks only barely distract you from the other headache-inducing moments. For instance, I really thought that making John Connor the new antagonist was completely unnecessary, and otherwise, there's some very cheesy moments. Like Arnie smiling at the camera during his mugshot to the tune of Bad Boys. And they really overused the Terminator theme like any chance they got. The ironic thing is it's not really about Schwarzenegger, as Pops is really the secondary character. It's more of a story about Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese. And luckily, Game of Thrones Emilia Clarke does an amazing homage to a young Linda Hamilton, and Jay Courtney as Reese is fairly solid. That's Jay with a Y. What? How can you spell J without a Y? But I never found myself asking, why? I'm the king of segues. I never once asked, why is Schwarzenegger still making these? Why am I watching this movie? Or why did they even make it in the first place? It wasn't a great film, but it was a good film. I was pleasantly surprised. The action is solid, which is what you want in a Terminator film. There are characters that you actually cared about, and I love the throwbacks to the successful pieces of the Terminator Universe. I can't believe I am saying this. This must be a dark timeline, but Terminator Genisys isn't earn it. Poll question, what is your favorite time travel movie? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to Real School, follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link, and you can become a Real School patron. But until next time, school's out.